Good afternoon, everyone. Thanks for being here with us, and thank you to the speakers for accepting the invitation. Of course, we have all read about the tumultuous time that luxury business is actually facing. And what we want to do today is actually to look at the concept of luxury and see what has changed, being it a concept that is deeply impacted by variables such as time and space. I'm very happy to have four representatives of that sector. And first of all, I would like to invite all of you to introduce yourself, but also to explain, as you have been working in this sector for a long time, what is luxury for you personally before we get into business. Vincenzo, would you like to start?
Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. Okay, I guess you can hear me now. Hello, everyone. Good afternoon again. My name is Vincenzo Carrieri. I'm the Asia Pacific Regional Director at CANALI. Actually, in few days, it will be a kind of my birthday because it's 20 years that I live and work in this beautiful city. I work for CANALI since 10 years. Later we talk a lot about CANALI, no worries, I know your face, what is. And beside that, before CANALI, I spent 15 years in the French Kering group called Kering, where the Samsung gentlemen are still working. This is a bit about myself.
And what is luxury for you?
Well, luxury is a lot for me, as you can imagine. Luxury to me is a form of, is a lifestyle. What makes me so confident on luxury is because I see luxury as a vector of differentiation. Let me expand a bit. So, of course, luxury industry, we are part of the planet Earth, right? We're not living in a different planet. We live in a planet that is getting more crowded, more unfortunately polarized, and competitive. Now, when you are in a high competitive society, you want to differentiate. You're looking to show that you are better. It's about differentiation. How different I am compared to. And you differentiate based on perhaps where you study, where you live, and as well, what you wear. So in that sense, luxury is a vector of differentiation. And this is what makes me positive for the future of luxury in this country, over the world.
Thank you. And indeed, we may look at luxury later on as something that you utilize to make yourself unique. Jonathan, would you like to continue?
Sure, thank you. Thank you very much, Esterina. So I'm Jonathan Lee. I work for Qeelin, a jewelry brand part of Kering Group, and I'm in charge of the fragrance division, as well as the corporate projects, which are sustainability, as well as diversity, equity, and inclusion. I've been in the brand for 2 years and a half, and previously I was at Richemont Asia Pacific as the chief of staff to the CEO. And in my role now, I'm overlooking different projects related to our development of our new collection of fragrance. And for me, luxury is indeed a vector of self-expression, a way to look on how you can really express your own identity and how you interpret also your own identity.
Thank you. Alex?
Hello, good afternoon, everyone. Alex Lee. I'm the head of retail for Hong Kong Land. What that means in English is that one of the properties that I'm in charge of, for example, that you may know is Landmark, which is in Central. What is luxury to me? It's a feeling. And I think that luxury, you can feel luxury in many different forms, whether it's the way you board a plane, where it's the way you eat something. It's about how your sense of touch, sight, smell, how that interacts with you and how it makes you feel. And how much someone can charge you for that is on a scale of luxuriousness. And I'm sure we can get into that a little later.
Joshua?
Hi, everyone. I'm Joshua, working with the Peninsula Hotel Group. So basically, my role is more focusing on sustainability. I'm the head of sustainability, working with different business leaders and to make sure that we incorporate sustainability processes within while we're delivering luxurious kind of experience to our guests. From designing the hotels to offering different activities and F&B dining experience, things like that. So for me, what it means for luxury is, I agree, it's a lifestyle, but also it's an inspiration. I think it created, especially a lot of these marketing campaign and also images that kind of inspire people what it means life can provide, right? In terms of the way of living. Things you could be traveling around the world, seeing different things, trying different new things that you may not be able to do in your daily lives as well. But also you can try new things. So I think that is something which is pretty inspirational in terms of luxury usually give you that unlimited boundary to continue on evolving and pushing it, right? So that's usually what the mindset of the luxury business is, to go far beyond what is being expected. Yeah.
Thank you. And as you can see, we have different perspectives, different sectors. So we have Joshua more focusing on experience, but also very much linked to sustainability. And we will ask later for some of the best practices. Then we have Alex dealing with space and luxury, but also supporting brands that are willing to position themselves in such a segment of the market. I'm quite interested in asking Jonathan later, because fragrance is something intangible. We don't see it, but it's there. So how does it qualify as a luxury, as it's something that we can't see it visibly? And then we have Vincenzo, so more on the fashion side. And I'm quite interested in asking him about the supply chain and the sustainability later, as he has some very good insights to share with us. We have also published at CTU a report in 2023 looking at this evolution of luxury. And from the answers that we got, there are a few keywords that may or may not resonate with you as you try to define luxury yourself. I would like to ask now, what is the luxury of tomorrow, or whether you have a vision for the future in your respective sector. So, Alex, as we know that you have actually a very interesting tagline for the project of Landmark, what is luxury for tomorrow?
Yeah, I'd firstly say it's a very tough question. And even as so at Hong Kong Land, we are working with our tenants and brand partners, and we're investing over $1 billion in kind of recreating Central. And I would say from the moment that we launched this project 18 months ago publicly up until now, we're still evolving our thoughts on what the meaning of luxury is. But I would go back to my introduction where I talked about how we experience things. I mean, I think it's very clear that we've moved from a luxury of things to a luxury of experience. I think that has been talked about for a very long time. So it used to be great just to put a brand on your trousers, on your shirt, but now it's the whole journey with which you acquired that thing, right? I mean, brands and also developers need to think about the point at which you step off your car. How do you drive in? How do you walk through the property? What do you see? What do you interact with? What videos are showing? All of that is the meaning of luxury. And that's why I ask you, I mean, if I was to ask one piece of feedback from you as you walk through Landmark, if you walked from beginning to end, I would ask you, how did you feel? Because if we don't make you feel luxury at every point in your journey, we failed. So Tomorrow Central, which is this project I referred to earlier, it has to look at the complete picture. So we look at inside. So all the buildings that we own, we're looking at inside what we can do there to make it feel luxury. everything out. The second part of it is to look at everything outside. So all the public areas that are adjacent, a customer doesn't care whether or not Hongkong Land owns a building. If a tree doesn't look good and it's outside near us, we should do something about it. We should work with government, we should work with partners, whoever it is. And the third thing is you have to actively place make more than you've ever done before. I mean, for many, many years, decades, I would say, we just focused on putting the right brands in the right place. But that is simply no longer enough. You obviously have to have that, but you've got to actively draw people in, give people new reasons to come in. And I'm not just talking about expensive reasons to come in, which is what Landmark is typically associated with, expensive things, but you should be giving all facets of the community reasons to come in, right? So that it's a very open environment.
Thank you. As you touched upon experience, Joshua, how that has changed when actually you deal with experience and experience has to evolve as well. So what is a luxury experience today, especially for younger generations?
So I totally agree with just now what Alex mentioned is that, back in the days, it's very much, from a hotel perspective, like it's really about what kind of marbles are you using, what kind of like wood or what kind of design that you're using in the room. But now when we talk about the experience, it's really coming from the moment that they book or even check on your website, on the booking site. Is it facilitating them in terms of making a booking? But other than that, also that is really the younger generation piece that we touch on. I think it's evolving constantly that, a lot of people also thinks that, being a luxury business, that things are being taken care of. I think a lot of the time is about being able to anticipate what people want, being attentive enough, like attention to details is key. And then, really provide a hustle-free or worry-free kind of like experience to people. And I think when it comes to, the touching on sustainability side of things is that, of course, younger generation may have more, demand or, basically looking into this area. And we do see, the demographic is actually moving towards that as well. A lot of the time is really providing options. I think people generally cares about, the labor, the how do we have responsible business practices embedded in our day-to-day operation. There might be people not so much vocal about it, but I think when they find out, because it's about quality as well, right? Being a luxurious like experience is about you really hope that everything is top notch. Like I think people will feel very hurtful, like if they find out there is labor issue, creating certain furniture or when we provide certain food items that actually, modern slavery is involved. I think people will feel really bad about that. So I think, this is really a kind of unspoken kind of language that we need to have that mindset while we're running our business. And of course, tailor more for the younger generation is communication, because back in the days, I think sometimes we also struggle, right? Because this is something as a brand we're doing very well. We don't necessarily need to talk about it. I think recently we have this conversation with our marketing team is that, you don't tell people when you say introduce yourself, you don't tell people I'm honest, because that's come by default, right? So I think a lot of the luxury brand also facing the same problem because they don't necessarily talk so much about these kind of things because we're doing it for many years already. But now we need to start curating the storytelling, starting to share information, and also keep pushing the boundary just now mentioned, because usually the luxury brands have more power to like collaborate with people, coming up with new materials, developing something that's even better. And I think that is the key going forward. But of course, from an experience standpoint, we also wanted to start looking into. Is it just space? It could be also time, right? Luxury can means different to people. It could be connection with nature. It could be connection with people. So the definition is now really evolving to how people feel. Just now, Alex also mentioned, it's really doing the right thing at the right moment. And if this is the people in different mood, that you get it right for them. So it means different from time to time.
And now I would like to ask Vincenzo, who has also prepared a couple of slides. When we talk about luxury, you mentioned is differentiation, and you are actually managing a family business. So may I ask you, how do you position yourself within the sustainability conversation? Can we have please the slide up? Yes.
Next. Oh, it's me? Okay, it's me again. All right, so let me talk about how we approach sustainability. But before doing that, a bit of introduction about ourselves. So we are indeed a family business. We are manufacturing. We manufacture our product, at least around 70% of it, in our own factory in Italy, and everything is not produced in our factory in Italy, is made in Italy through other vendors. Now, as you can see, we are a menswear brand, family business. In terms of geography, our largest market is North America. Asia Pacific, unfortunately, is not ranked number 3, but China itself is market number 1. Now, how we approach the idea of sustainability in a family business. And here is where I want to stop for 10 seconds. I would like you to think about what's the meaning, what is sustainability itself. Because the idea of sustainability is quite blurry, it's so broad. I bet Esterina's salary that if I ask 20 questions of you, I will probably have 20 different definitions of sustainability. Now, I want to give you our definition of sustainability, but my definition of sustainability is a simple one. I see sustainability as preserving value over time. Now, family business, and not just because I work in a family business, are the most sustainable company. It's not just because Warren Buffett says so, but because they have a very long view. They intend to pass the value through generation. Most likely, the 500 largest company you have today in the world, they will not be around maybe in 50 years. CANALI is around since 91 years. So our idea is absolutely true. We see long term, and we want to be sustainable. But how do you translate this idea of sustainability beside the general blah, 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 as Greta Thunberg used to say, in fact, in reality? We don't plant a tree. We want really to improve ourselves. So, and how we do that? The goal here, and the key point here, as I said, is that we manufacturing ourselves. And as a result, in Italy. And as a result, because we are manufacturing our product ourselves, guess what? The supply chain is super short. What happens if your supply chain is super short? You have a much better control. So here the point is that everybody wants to be sustainable. But if your supply chain is long, it's very difficult to say to your supplier, do that, do that, do that. It's super complicated. Instead, if you manufacture yourself and your supply chain is short, it's another story. Because basically you can yourself, you say, how I can improve. Now, the answer of how we can improve at EU level, we are sending two beautiful and very stringent regulation called PEF, Product Environmental Footprint, and OEF, Organization Environmental Footprint. Now, these two regulations, they really measure how your organization of your product are sustainable. It's math. It's not blah, 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 or planting tree around. It's math. So we started to implement these two certifications, and we have full implementation of these two certifications. And it's through these two certifications, OF and POF, we were able not just to measure, but to put in place corrective action to make our product and our organization more sustainable. Again, blah, blah, blah. What does it mean? If you talk about simple thing, factory consume energy. Energy, as you for sure you know, still, as I could call it this morning, energy still mostly around the world is produced by carbon fossil, right? Now, he said, guess what? We put on top of our factories solar panel. So this is one way, one very practical, tangible way how you can improve your organization environmental footprint. I don't want to talk too much with this start looking at me. But there is a number of corrective action, very tangible, that you can do in order to be more sustainable. And so for the product. So our product, for example, we use natural fabric. Natural fabric, guess what? They are a lot more sustainable. Oh, helping a bracket here. Men's, we are a lot more sustainable than ladies on average. Guess how we dress me as a gentleman? If you meet ourselves probably in 3 months or so, kind of similar. If we'll see Esterina and tomorrow will be a completely different colors, different ideas. So we are in general a lot more sustainable. But the point I'm trying to make here is that there is indeed, at least at EU level, a very tangible and practical approach that you can take if you want and if you have the ability to do so in make your brand sustainable.
I'm a bit like Kate Middleton, though. I do reuse my dresses for different events.
So,
Jonathan, as you deal with fragrance business, but you have a very long experience in brands that have very much attached themselves to culture. First of all, I'd like to ask you luxury and fragrance, and also Qeelin and the very profound tie with Chinese culture.
So on luxury and fragrance, I would say the two are very much intertwined. There has been a whole history of perfume linked to royalty back from the ancient times. It really goes back to the ancient Egypt, and also when you go back to ancient Rome, the use of different instances of mirrors, of different minerals belong to different classes of society that really were inspirational in a way in diffusing the use of fragrance. And therefore, for luxury brands to develop a fragrance goes back to this long history where jewelry brands or fragrance brands really tie back to links to royal families, to also spiritual movements or religions where perfume was always very much present. And so in our brand, the story of the fragrance in Qeelin, for instance, is tying back also to our roots. We went back in 2004 when the brand was founded in Hong Kong. So we're a very proud local Hong Kong brand. One of our main creative director, Dennis Chan, went to the Macau caves in Dunhuang, in the Gobi Desert, where in these caves he saw many different depictions of spiritual figures and also Chinese cultural different spirits and deities. And he saw lots of jewelry on these paintings in the caves. And he wondered himself, all this rich Chinese cultural heritage, all these rich jewelry elements, why don't we have now a modern, contemporary interpretation of these different depictions and the paintings? And that's how we came up with the brand 20 years ago now, really wanting to represent and put China on the map of luxury created here, not luxury imported, but really luxury created in China. And so maybe the link between luxury and culture for us at Qeelin, but also in all the other brands I worked for in the past, is really paying homage to a community, paying homage to a culture, paying homage to a legacy or a cultural heritage. So what we're doing now, for instance, at Qeelin, we're working with one of the cultural minorities in South China, the Dong community. And we've been collaborating with them for the last 2 years, inviting them to really reflect with our artistic director on some pieces of jewelry that are paying respect to their designs, to the way they weave the fabric. And for instance, now in our last fine jewelry collection that I invite you to discover in our stores, is to also look at how our artistic director and the Dong community in a way reinterpreted the more than 1,000-year designs of this culture.
Thank you. And Alex, brands, of course, have their own ethos and their own way to drive people to visit their flagship. How do you keep consumers engaged? As we know that particularly in luxury, we have known that there is a shift into generations, and the younger generations seem to be quite difficult to please. So how do you make sure that you do have traffic to attract more brands?
I think you've just got to use as many platforms as possible. Actually, one of the ways I try to think about how to engage younger people is to ask my kids, right? Because you simply don't know unless you don't know what your kids are doing all day at school, but they are communicating and getting their information from somewhere, and you need to know where that somewhere is. I mean, as a parent, for sure, you need to know, but also as a business person, you should know. But across whenever I meet someone, whatever generation they're born, you should ask them this question. What engages with you? Because similar to your question about fashion, I think they will say something different every time. When somebody tells me they get their information from Facebook, I already know when they were born. Right? And if it's from TikTok or Instagram, and you kind of already, and I think for us, you have to, it's not only by age, but it's by nationality, by demographic, all of that. They all engage in different ways. I think what you were expecting me also to say is loyalty programs are increasingly important across, I think, any industry, but there is also a very topical question about whether loyalty programs can be luxury. And that's why I think there are many luxury brands who won't publicly have a loyalty program. Many hotel luxury brands won't have them. But that's maybe something we can talk about another time. But it's a very interesting question about whether loyalty can be luxury.
Thank you. And I think we are lucky enough because the next topic for me that I want to ask Joshua is heritage. And we have the Peninsula hotels. We have, Landmark in Central that has intangible and tangible heritage. We have the Chinese culture, and we have a very long history in terms of craftsmanship with CANALI. So in terms of heritage, Joshua, how do you link it back to what is preserving in terms of sustainability and the innovation that luxury nowadays requires?
Okay, so a little bit of introduction of the company, of course. I think everyone knows the Peninsula Hotels in Hong Kong. We're a Hong Kong-based company. Not the first, but our first Peninsula brand hotel is in the Peninsula Hong Kong, which has more than, actually it's very close to 100 years of anniversary that we will be celebrating in the next 2 years. For the company itself, the Hong Kong and Shanghai hotels, we're actually celebrating 160th anniversary next in coming 1 year. So it's a very, very long history. We always question ourselves, how can we continue on to innovate, to make ourselves more relevant? I think that's a constant question, how do you get the right balance? Because you also don't want to, lose the heritage piece. And that's exactly the reason why, you see a lot of our hotels, we do love to keep the exterior as much as possible. The Peninsula Hong Kong is the best example that is iconic for the Hong Kong. But yet, I would say, when you walk into the hotel, when you get into the room, we do put in the latest, best technology into the room. We are one of the best hotel which have all this in-room technology where you have your iPad, you can control with your phone as well now, controlling all the lightings, your curtain. You basically don't need to walk. You can just have a device with you, and then you control everything in the room. So that's how we constantly innovating in order to stay relevant, because technology is a huge things that we need to leverage on. But also I always, wanted to say is like, it's easy because nowadays everyone is very fast. There's so many new things coming out. If you go to TikTok or, Instagram, every day is a different, people are different, have very short attention span because there are so many new things coming out, right? You can become irrelevant within 6 months. Basically, the trends is changing very quickly. But I always wanted to say is like, but heritage or history is something that you can't create. It has to be, with the test of time in order to get to this stage. So this is also something that I think the younger generation, like at a certain point, they will actually appreciate that, because I think it's a generational thing that maybe the younger generation now appreciate things slightly differently. I always use myself as an example that I don't like red wine before, I don't like whiskey before, but now I kind of like appreciate, okay, interesting, I kind of like red wine, and now I do whiskey as well. So it's more generational, but I think it's more important to be more receptive and also be open about this. How do we, start educating maybe the younger generation to appreciate heritage, history, even though that may not be their first things to think of when they choose an hotel. They may want some really nice, lifestyle design instead of something classic, or people would borderline say, a little bit old school kind of situation. But we provide service. I think the technology, the software can be, relevant, but the hardware, we can keep it as it is and always celebrate the heritage and the root of the company, or even the root of Hong Kong. I think that is very important.
And I've started receiving some questions from the audience, so I will try to address them all, but please apologies if we won't have enough time. I have one question for you, Vincenzo, is about luxury between, preservation and innovation, and particularly in relation to sustainability. You have talked about supply chain, but one of the question is, outside the supply chain, how do you have control on any type of service that is actually related to your brand and sustainability?
Thank you for the for the good question. Okay, so what luxury brand they actually do in order? We call about in more technical word, we talk about upstream and downstream, right? So basically, upstream is where is your manufacturing part, downstream is execution. Now, one the paradigm of our industry is that value chain as a V shape. So basically, the more we're close to you, the more important it becomes the execution, and that's why we, in general, I'm talking about on behalf of the luxury brand, we tend to have directed operated store. So is us. Once again, we don't subcontract, is us again. So, and this is how we become more sustainability in designing the store, because designing the store is us again. I don't have someone else that designed the store for me. I have an architect team in Italy that he designed the concept and he look after the implementation. And as well, something that, for example, in a very simple word we do, because I like fact, not words, is, for example, we offer to our customer, please come back to our product because they need alteration, right? So basically is we try to extend as long as possible product life cycle. So those are all examples on how downstream we have a better control and we make our brand more sustainable.
Thank you. And when we talk about sustainability, I know in everybody's mind is always the environmental dimension, but there is also social, governance, and cultural. And I know that Jonathan has been involved throughout his career in topics that are more related to what we consider the social dimension, like diversity, equity, and inclusion, or other topics that you have been trying to push for the different brands that you have worked in. May I ask a bit about this experience?
No, definitely diversity, equity, inclusion is a key topic that we have that has really evolved, I would say, over the last decade. It went from a topic that was mostly human resources led to a topic that really became a business topic. Because in the end, for retail businesses that are really frontline, where we're meeting clients every day, we need to ensure that the clients really feel that they're welcomed in the store, that they are respected, that they are not discriminated. So I would say that the big shift that we've seen in the last few years has been about really going back to loyalty, going back to the customer experience, going back to the how the client feels in the store and also outside the store and through our partners. It's about respect. And therefore, one of the key missions that I did in my previous careers and also in my current job is really looking at the overall partners of suppliers that we have, doing audits on site, going through also how our employees are treated, ensuring that they're aware of their rights and also and about other minorities that may not benefit from the same conditions or the same upbringing that they had. And then for a customer, we'll do a lot of retail trainings to ensure that there is no bias when people come into our store, into our space. And when we discuss with also our landlords, we also look at DEI from this aspect, and we also have lots of D&I communities across brands, because it's a topic that really touches everyone, and it's very important, and we therefore also connect, like today, with our counterparts or our colleagues or also our competitors, because it's cross brand. It cannot be led just by one single brand.
Thank you. And this highlights also the role of luxury, in which I've always believed that is to lead the change if there is one to make. And Alex, I have questions from the audience. There is one actually that I think you have briefly touched upon earlier. As you look at different demographics, different cultures, and we know that luxury is quite different for different people. Have you noticed any particular, I would say, difference, whether it is elderly versus younger or kids? What are they looking for when they visit a place like Landmark?
I have to say, I've never been a fan of segmenting our customers by age, because I think that I think the data that we have shows that it's that different ages can act in exactly the same way. Right. I think there are some general characteristics you can make about, I don't know, people who are 70 plus or 40 and below. But I think increasingly it's less about that. And there's plenty of, I think we've all now moved to something called personas, right? We have personas instead of, and so you can have if I was to use, I hope this is not a derogatory word, but if I use the word tie-tie, you can have a 20-year-old tie-tie, a 30-year-old tie-tie, a 40 or 50-year-old tie-tie, and they will all buy very similar things because they all are feeling their lifestyle in a certain way, and it's regardless of their age. I think one if I can give you a trend that I have observed is that the ultra wealthy, Hong Kong has continued to attract a lot of ultra wealthy. Whether it's because of its tax system, what the government is doing to attract more, and I can see that their spending levels have not changed at all. And I think that, but I think it's very important for luxury brands and for luxury developers is that our business, while that is very good, it's good to have a very high volume of VICs is what they call, the business cannot sustain itself on that segment alone. So actually the luxury industry, and I include ourselves in that, we need to work very hard to win back the trust, you mentioned also, of the wider population, because if we need to do more to, whether it's restoring trust or building desirability back in the product, that people want to engage with this type of feeling, this type of lifestyle again. Otherwise, you won't really see these brands returning to growth, because they need the whole pyramid to move, not just the bit at the top.
And I know that Vincenzo has prepared one more slide for us in terms of engagement, how to invite, I would say, a wider population to experience luxury. So may I have the slides back, please?
All right, that is me again. Okay, meanwhile, I make the short introduction while we are uploading the slides. So engagement, difficult task, isn't it? Today we are facing customer that they are at least a lot more sophisticated because they're just simply more knowledgeable. They have at their, say, finger a lot more information, and they are very much distracted. My slide is still not coming, but there's not a solution that fits everybody for engagement because, as a matter of fact, we are different. But there are some best practices that I like to share. What best practices? Some tips that I think worth to share. So my first approach to marketing is very much customer-centric, once again. And when I look at engagement, when I talk about engagement, is of course is about them, not about you. It's a very simple rule, but we often tend to forget this simple rule. And when I talk about them, not about you, means that somehow, because resources by definition are limited, you need to know your customer, but who are your customer and who are your potential customer. Tips number one. Tips number two is about authenticity. You need to stick to your core value. You need to know, first of all, what your company, what your brand is about. And in a way you communicate with, if you prefer, like engage your customer, you need to be consistent with your core value. Tips number three, do not underestimate emotion. Emotion are an incredible weapon for all of us, men and ladies. So here is the case study for you. We are not the only one. We are luxury brands, but now I talk about ourselves, are particularly active in sports. And so is CANALI. So as you can see here, we are the former wear partner for Inter Milan. Inter Milan is a soccer club, ladies, is a very famous one, and he was in the Champions League final last year. So what you see here is an example. We are active in Formula One, we are active in tennis. So we are very much engaged with Inter. So here the point in running this event with Inter Milan. This is Xavier Zanetti. For boys, probably they know better than you, but essentially is an Inter legend players. And these are two events that we ran in Beijing SKP and Shanghai Halong Plus 66. Two of the most successful mall in China. So it was extremely successful because we had hundreds of customers. Once again, remember what I say, customer meaning our current customer and potential customer joined the event. We were consistent with our value. We are an Italian company. Indeed, Italy, even in terms of performance, we're not that good recently, but Italy and soccer, they go along together very much. And indeed, it generates significant revenue. So I go back to the three tips that I want to share with you, right? It's about them, and not about you. So this emotion hinter sport creates, in general, has a lot of traction in terms of generating emotion and create a quite significant resonance across the entire network of customer, current and potential customer, because of course we pitch the Interclub in China. And as well, he create not just resonance, but also stick to us because we share the same passion. So this is a bit in a few minutes. Here's my recipe for engagement.
Thank you. And before I ask each of you to give me one word to summarize the concept of luxury, would like to quickly wrap up that today we had the pleasure to have brands representing heritage, culture. So I would say it's past informing the future. We have looked at luxury and how it is different according to different variables, time, space. Alex also reminded us, and I very much agree, that it's not about segmenting by demographic. It's about segmenting by this word that we have heard so many times, lifestyle. In terms of sustainability, we do expect luxury to monitor and control their supply chain, and sometimes owning their own factories, running a family business gives much more control. So are the two worlds compatible, I would say, between one another? I truly believe that luxury can lead the way. Ultimately, last but not least, luxury is very much about experience or intangible products like fragrance that still give us a resonance of uniqueness. So after this summary, I believe you have had enough seconds to actually think of one word to close the panel. Joshua?
I do think the word should be connection.
Alex?
I'm going to use emotion.
For me, it's about respect.
Vincenzo? One word.
Two.
One. Containing the Italian speaking style.
Is quality over quantity.
Thank you, and I would like to invite you to give a round of applause to our speakers.